Hello, everybody. This is Joel. I was just talking to everybody on the phone and for their English telephone lessons. And one of the questions that I got was about how can I study vocabulary. So I thought I would make a video about that and take you through some of the steps that I have um, encountered in my life when studying vocabulary. I have studied vocabulary when I have studied Korean and Chinese writing, so I do have some experience, but I do find that it's a very frustrating thing. The first, so that leads me to my first tip, which is you need to take a long-term view. It's going to be something that you're always going to have to work on. And like even me, when I'm reading books or studying academically, I encounter words that I don't know in English, even though I'm a native speaker of English. So there's a lot of words in English. You're not going to know them all. You're probably not even going to use them all. But you will need to use some. So just be kind to yourself and don't get too frustrated. Just remember that going to be a lifelong journey of you trying to improve your vocabulary. So a good thing that I like to do is to buy index cards and make vocabulary lists. So you probably encountered, flashcards from when you studied English as a kid, learning the alphabet and things like that. But that is to very popularly used to study English with children because it is effective and you can use them yourself. So here's some ideas of mine. So you start with seven. Seven's a good number because it is more likely to stick in your head. After seven, you start to forget things. Write the word on one side, the meaning on the other. Look at the first word. If you know the meaning, put it at the back of the pack. If you don't know the meaning, put it about 2 or 3 cards behind so it'll come up again. When you can go through all 7 cards and you think you're ready, you can add another 7. But keep the same pack. So when you add the 7, you'll still have the original 7, so it's 14 cards. And that means you'll be reviewing the ones that you have learned. Reading is a great way of increasing your vocabulary, especially if you can find books which are for your level. So there are adult uh, fiction and other books that you can read that are graded to particular reading levels. And also, I think reading is better than watching TV or listening to the radio because you can see the spelling. But those things can be good as well. I know it's very difficult to find time to read in our busy lives, but you can read on the bus, read on the train, read while you're waiting. Try to read rather than use your phones. You can read stories to your children as well. Join a book club or join a library. Sometimes that makes it more social and interesting. If books aren't your thing, then maybe the newspaper or a magazine is good for you. They are less likely to have difficult vocabulary in them than books, and it will also help you if you want to work on your speaking because by reading the newspaper, you can then talk to people about the news, bearing in mind that a lot of people don't like to talk about politics. plenty of other things in the news that you can mention. And when you're reading books or newspapers or magazines and you come across words that you don't understand, you should make a note of them and write down the word, look up its meaning later in a dictionary, find a translation in your first language. And I think it's a good idea to also write a example of the sentence that you found it in, so with the word in red, so you can see what sort of context it's used in, and then maybe even add another sentence that you wrote using the word in context. The other side of this is to use different strategies to try to guess the meanings of words when you encounter new words. So that means that looking at the sentence structure, does the sentence actually explain what the word means after a comma? Does it give an example? Does it use a synonym or antonym after it in the next sentence? So you can try to work out the meaning. And that way you might be able to start making associations with words. Alternatively, you should also start looking at the parts of words, things like prefixes and suffixes. So we all know that un means the opposite of, so that will give you a hint in words like uncomfortable, it's not comfortable, that sort of thing. Right, then you can do searches for words that are commonly used. Once you've learned the top 100, 200, 300, 400, all those words. But the first 100 is basically words like the, and, you know. But you can search for academic word lists and try to use them. I think it's also good for those of you who are following profession to read journals, academic articles, and things like that for your profession. And while you're doing that, take note of new vocabulary. And even when I was studying, I still take a note of new vocabulary, and I kept a book of it, especially if you're in a profession. Often they use words in particular contexts that other people don't use, and that's part of their workplace jargon, and you need to know that. And it's very hard to teach unless you work in that profession. And lastly, have fun with it. Look up some crosswords. They don't have to be hard crosswords. Choose some easy ones. There's nothing wrong with doing a junior crossword, or something that's made for high school. There's nothing wrong with it doing those. You can find crosswords that are appropriate to your level. Also, play Scrabble or other words like it, word games. That can be very interesting and a lot of fun. And I might do videos later about other games you can play using words. And here's some people playing Scrabble now. So thanks for listening. I hope this has given you some ideas, inspiration, motivation, whatever it is you need to go and study more vocabulary. I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, and that sometimes it doesn't feel like it's paying off, but it is something that if you put the time into, you will improve. And the most important thing is to remember to use what you learn. So if you don't use it, you'll lose it. You need to keep on. Once you learn a word, practice writing sentences, try to use it, essay or some form of writing, even if it's writing sentences yourself. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video, and this all comes from questions from my students. So as you can see, I'm trying to make this as useful and interactive as possible. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for listening, and